Okay.
In Montreal, it's known as True Grit. Good boy, Danny. Good to see you. Want to say something to the fans?
Hold it right up. I was in room number 2, so I wasn't quite sure which room was number 1. Thanks to Barney. Barney was the one that got me into squash. I used to be a handball player. And actually it was Wally Thompson who invited me over to the Hamilton Squash Club to see what squash was all about. And he sat me down next to Barney. And needless to say, Barney picked me up as a partner, and I guess we played together for 25, 30 years. I was never able to win a U.S. doubles with Barney, and thank goodness Gord Guyett was able to win this year, so it's got Barney off my back. Anyway, I certainly appreciate being here tonight. I hadn't intended on coming, but thanks to the cricket club, they said we better come and have dinner with us, so I appreciate it. I'm just sorry that the squash season is over. I can play golf, so any of the old guys that I used to beat at squash would like to try and beat me at golf. I'm available. Thank you very much.
I think those golfers are in trouble.
On behalf of the tournament, and also as your friends of the game of squash, we'd like just to give you this small gift, just a token of our appreciation for your years of love of the game of squash. Thank you very much.
David, well done, buddy. Well done.
He's one of the best.
Yep, absolutely.
John Nimick, excuse me, don't pat yourself on the back yet. Wait till it's over. Now the only problem with Barney Lawrence, of course, is that Barney talks a lot. And I really gave him good luck guidelines that 7 to 10 minutes was it, and he has promised me that he will look at you, he will feel you out, and if at 7 minutes you want him to stop, he will stop. But however you have a good time, he will go on for 2 hours and 7 minutes. So I'll let you determine how long he'll go. Barney, it is my pleasure to have you come up here and be a part of our evening. Welcome. Room number 2, you pay attention here. A room, sorry. Barney Lawrence.
Mesdames et messieurs, Damen und Herren, Mitglieder, ladies and gentlemen. To compete against a reggae orchestra and a bar is very difficult. But since this is the crowning part of the evening, it says in my speech here, I get the profile here.
Yeah, I got it, Bart.
I want to tell you a few things about this wonderful game of squash rackets. First of all, Don Leggett and I did not invent it. However, it has been one of the most important parts of my long and highly celebrated life. But it was only this tournament that I can tell you that I finally achieved real greatness. To win a tournament without getting a squash ball is something that even Jonathan Power would understand. I refuse to play with Gary because he's not moving well. When Jamie Bentley asked me to play in the Open, I said, Jamie, look, get some kid, get Binsey or some of these guys. So, Jonathan, next year we're going to play and we're going to win it. But really, to play a tournament like that reminded me of a limerick. And if you'll bear with me, I will tell you this very serious limerick. There was a young girl from St. Paul who went to a birth control ball. She bought all the devices at fabulous prices, but nobody asked her at all. So Gordy and I, having won this magnificent tournament without playing, were forced to play in the 65s with a bunch of children. First of all, we played a couple of separatists from Montreal, who not only tried to separate the game, but tried to get in our way. And not only that, they wanted to win, which was worse. Then in the semifinals, we were bested by an acquitted child molester and a serial rapist. And I'm referring to that wonderful team of Logie and Roby. So I'm not counting that game as a defeat. Anyway, friends, I must say this. I want to make a few comments about this wonderful game. Doubles is all about getting a partner who is better than you are. As my intimate friends will know, doubles is very much like sex. If you don't pay attention to your partner, it's no fun. So, I want to tell you about some of the great victories that I've achieved in squash. I'm one of the few that have inflicted losses upon Hashim Khan and Dil Matir when I was playing with them. In fact, I could have been better. The Blue Jays wanted me to play for them, and I was known as Home Run Lawrence, which was difficult because I was a pitcher. At any rate, at the risk of being nostalgic, I will go back to 1948. When I first was launched on this career, and the late Henry Hussey and I found out that there were free drinks at doubles tournaments. Shortly thereafter, I found a young kid named Don Leggett in Hamilton. He was standing there listening to the birds coughing in that wonderful Hamilton air. And I said to him, "Kid, I'll take you off the streets." I bought him his first suit, which he's wearing this evening. We managed to win a few tournaments, to lose a lot more, but we don't remember those. But it was all a lot of fun. And then I moved on from there because I got to be 45, and the tournaments were running out. And the Boynton Hamilton Trophy was sitting there for over 45s. So I got the great Eddie Hahn. Some of you will remember him as the oldest man to win the U.S. Amateur. Great player. And Eddie won me a bunch of tournaments, and the over 45, and it was he who told me the secret of doubles. If the ball is forward, you yell up. If it's back, you say to your partner, yours, and only when he says up yours do you know you're a team. As I progressed into senility, I realized that I had to go further west to win a tournament. So I found out that out in British Columbia, which is where all the Ontario people go when they're bankrupt, and they come back here millionaires later on and face their creditors, I found a young kid named Clive Caldwell, who was the father of Mary Ann. He's the only partner I've ever had where I can say we were undefeated. I would say, Clive, you go and play the game and I'll get the trophy. He ran up and down that court very nicely, and I stood in the corner with my hands in my pockets. So that was very, very successful, but he dumped me later on when he became one of the best players in the game. Don't know why. In my dotage, I had to find another solicitor. And it was then that I offered my contract to smiling Gordy Gaia. Now Gordy, he's content to run all over the court for me. give me the trophy later on, even brings me a scotch afterwards. And I think his engineering of having no competition in this tournament was wonderful. Gordy sent out some notices telling these fellas not to come. He didn't admit to that yet. So really, what have I to tell you? All of my partners were wonderful people. It doesn't quite have the advantage of sex, because you have to say you're sorry. I did forget one wonderful partner, my old friend Jimmy Mason. Jimmy and I managed to win the Toronto Racquet Club. And Jimmy was just wonderful. Being a cricketer, he would stand 4 feet from the front wall and volley the ball. I think today with the let rule, we wouldn't have been quite as good a team. But he and I managed to win some tournaments before the let rule was invented. So what can I tell you? Well, my dear friends, as my declining years, I choke up a lot when I get to these speeches. Besides, I haven't had a scotch for 5 minutes. Would you like to hear a story before I leave? Well, I have to be careful in this politically correct era. I was going to tell a story about a Scotsman, and he got up and he waggled his kilt at me and left. I was going to tell a story about an Irishman, and he left. I tried to tell a fairy story and the orchestra left. So, I will end up. What would you like to hear? Little Hood Reading Ride? Intercell and the Sisty Ugglers? The P Little Frigs? Hollyhock and the Four Queers? Whichever one, I don't know. Sorry, the 4 disadvantaged groups. Sisty Ugglers, did you like that? Okay. Well, I'm over my few minutes. May I go on? Are you going to eat one whatever? She's like, Marianne said I can tell my story. Time upon a once, there was a little girl named Intercella, who lived all alone in a big heart house with her Lino Mepstiller and 2 Sisty Ugglers. And they made her do all the wordy dirt. Well, they sat around cheating mocks and eating magazines. Well, suddenly there was a knock on the floor, and that prancing young hints with that French dress brawl. And Intercella didn't have a wing to stare. And Budley, who should thirst upon her but a beautiful berry. And the beautiful berry says, Intercella, you can go to French dress brawl if you'll promise me home by midnight. And with one wave of her wand, she was transformed into a babishing Rudy. She had a long gap in sorrel and a necklace of boobies and rules. But more importantly, on her feet were the 2 slash skippers. Well, she cast to the cable, which is came to the castle for you illiterates. And the first 2 people she saw were the 2 Sisty Ugglers. Well, she was so beautiful, they didn't even cinderize Reckonella. And the prancing young hints, he was going to ask for a mare in handage, but suddenly his rock struck Belvich and ran from the brawl. And the slash skipper slept for slut. Well, the prancing young hints, he grasped the slash skipper and he went from house to house. And you can't reverse that. He wanted to find the Yiddish girl with whom he'd won and fought. Well, he tried it on the Lino Mepstiller and the Sisty Ugglers, and their feet were too big. So he tried on Intercella, and the Gipper said it perfectly. And they became enraged to Gary, and they would have happily lived ever after. But there's a moral to this story. No matter what think of people, always bless your countings. That was a double scotch, I thank you. In conclusion, I do have a very pleasant task. And it's not a task, it's more of an honor. I am so impressed with the fact that a dumb squash player like Clive could get such a beautiful, active wife, but he was stupid enough to have me as a partner. That there is a little presentation. There was a squash player who used to play out of Buffalo somewhere named Gordy Anderson. Is he here anywhere? Gordy, will you come up if you could? Gordy is the only squash player I ever hit in the warm-up. Marianne is straightening Gordy's tie. A simple question, Gordy. Who won the last time we played doubles?
Barney and Don Leggett.
Thank you. Gordy, will you perform your task?
Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm honored to be asked to represent all of you tonight.